Today we are on the dyno with the 441 cubic inch LS3, and it is time to make some noise. Quick recap on this engine. It's a 441 cubic inch LS, 4.125 bore with a 4.125 stroke. It's about 11.9 to 1 compression, almost 12 to 1, running our 11 degree Smetic Performance LS3 style cylinder heads and our Gatorman link bar lifter system. We're gonna run this short, low profile BTR intake manifold because it's going to go into a C6 Corvette, so we need a lot of hood clearance and cowl clearance. And all in all, we are ready to go. This is gonna be a pump gas engine that I think they're eventually gonna run E85, but today we're just gonna run it on pump gas. Full hydraulic roller street motor. Should make some really good power. Before we get going, leave a comment below. How much horsepower do you think we're gonna make today on the dyno? Because it's got some compression in it and we're running pump gas, I'm gonna start the tune-up very conservatively, only running 20 degrees of timing so we can find our RPM curve, and then we'll start playing with some timing, adding a little bit here, a little bit there, and find out exactly how much power this combination is going to make. To handle the engine's operation, we are running a Holley Terminator X Max system, which supports the drive-by-wire throttle body control. We're up to temperature. Everything's looking really nice on the engine, idling nicely with about 55 pounds of oil pressure. Of course, the oil's still cold. It's probably not super hot and thinned down yet, but super healthy nonetheless. Let's go ahead and make our first pull to 6,000 RPM. First pull with the 441. Remember, we only have 20 degrees of timing in the engine, so we're super conservative. Looking really good. Still climbing hard at 6,000 RPM. So let's go ahead and stretch its legs to 7,000 on this next pull. Same timing though. I'm not going to change timing until we find the perfect curve for the engine. Second pull. The second pull looks really nice. Looks like we found our peak at 6,600 currently with 20 degrees. Once we start adding some timing, that peak may move maybe a couple hundred RPM, but really nice looking graph. Torque curve is pretty flat. Let's go ahead and step up to 22 degrees of total timing. So with a couple more degrees of timing, we can see that our peak power extended a little bit further. Go ahead and overlay those two graphs. And we picked up everywhere across the board. So now we're making about 646 horsepower and 585, almost 586 on torque. So this 2 is good. Another 2 should be better. Let's go to 24 degrees. On 24 degrees, we're up to 657, still climbing on power. So let's go to 26. 26 is generally the number where we see timing kind of maxes out with our LS3 11 degree cylinder head. So this should be our limit. Let's see what we get. All right, this pull is going to be with 26 degrees of total timing. We also just did an oil change on the motor. We're now running VR1 20W50. So with the VR1 oil change and adding 2 more degrees of timing, picked up a good number of power up top, but a ton of torque down low as well. So looking good. Right now, we're just running the engine with an open throttle body. I'm gonna try installing a little pipe coming off the front of it to maybe straighten out the airflow. And I've always been curious if that will affect the horsepower and torque that the motor's making. So we're gonna install that really quick and then come back and make another back-to-back pull. Got the old pipe extender on the front now. It's only stupid if it doesn't work. Hopefully that makes a little bit of a difference in horsepower. Alright, picked up a little bit. Let me overlay those graphs. So with our throttle body extension, little pipe on the front, picked up a little bit everywhere. Not too bad. We are still running 93 octane pump gas. I think we're going to be a little bit at the limits of the fuel. Let me try putting in another degree and see, but I think to get any more out of the combination, we would need to switch to E85 to try to break the 700 horsepower mark. So let's try stepping up to 27 degrees and see how the curves look. Alright, so you can see with 27 degrees, we lost a little bit of power down low and didn't pick up anything up top. So 26 is going to be the magic number with this combination. We're going to go ahead and swap to some E85 and see what difference that makes. We swapped out the fuel system. We now have E85 running in the engine. I changed the tune parameters just a little bit, but I have not changed the spark parameters yet, only fuel to help it run on E85. We're going to let it come back to temperature, make sure we burn off all the leftover 93 octane out of the fuel rails, and we'll be able to make some hits in just a second. The first hit, we're going to leave the timing table exactly the same, and then we'll see if we can add more timing with the higher octane provided from E85. Alright, here's our first pull with E85 in the motor. No changes to the spark table, and we're already making more torque pretty much almost all the way across the board. Looks like we dropped a little bit up top, but I think we're going to need some spark changes to come in there. But already we can see, let's just grab, the biggest horsepower difference, which looks to be around here. So it made 670 on E85 compared to 660 on pump. So it picked up about 10 to 15 numbers all the way across the board on this LS. Now I'm going to add another degree of timing and see how it compares. Okay, second pull with the 85 with 27 degrees of timing in the engine. Okay, super interesting. On 27 degrees with the 85, we see the same thing. It actually does not like the extra timing, even with the extra octane. So that means a couple things. One, we don't need the extra octane fuel to reach our spark knock limits. The cylinder head itself is the most efficient at 26 degrees and doesn't make any more power on 27 degrees. So let's back it back down to 26 and let's make another pool with the E85 in it. And kind of back up our data a little bit. This blue curve is the E85 pool with 26 degrees, so I want to see if it comes back and repeats. So yeah, coming back up now, picked up power everywhere compared to 27 degrees. So we definitely know that it doesn't like the 27. 27 is blue and the red is 26. And so definitely the right direction there. And I think we're kind of done now. I don't know if there's much left in this combination. We can try richening it up, giving it some more fuel, and then also go the other way, lean it out, and see how it responds. So currently I've been targeting 12.4 to 1 AFR with the E85. I'm gonna richen it up to 12 to 1 and see how the motor responds. .12 to 1 versus 12.4 to 1 made a negligible difference. So let's go the other way. Let's try leaning it out to 12.8 to 1, and let's just see how it responds. We're just trying to find where the engine likes to be on fuel and timing. So again, wasn't very happy down in the lower RPM being leaner, but it did pick up a little bit way up top, being just slightly leaner. Kind of interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and go back 12.4 to 1. I want to make another hit, but I think this is gonna be it. I think this is where this engine is the happiest, is at 26 degrees and about just a little richer than 12.5 to 1 AFR. Yep, 12.5 to 1 is definitely where it's the happiest. It's actually still pulling right now, so let's go ahead and stretch its legs to 7,400 RPM. Make sure it's still stable at that real high RPM. Make sure we don't have any valve train harmonic issues, and see what it looks like. There's a really nice curve, pull to 7,400. It peaked power at 6,800 and then just goes nice, goes flat and carries very nicely. So again, this is the most power we were able to make naturally aspirated with the E85. Let me overlay this with the most power we made naturally aspirated with 93 octane, and we'll have a final answer. Okay, surprisingly, a very negligible difference on E85 versus 93 octane on this engine combination. You can see the graphs kind of cross. The pump gas makes a little bit more power here, and then the E85 makes more power, and then they go flat and carry off together. The pump gas pulls, we just didn't stretch its legs that far, but I would predict it carries the exact same curve. I think the reason we don't see a huge difference on this combo is because it's not octane limited on its timing. If it was 13 to 1 compression, and we could not put 26 degrees in it due to spark knock with 93 octane, then we would see a big power difference, because on 93 we might only be able to run 24 degrees, maybe 22 degrees before it knocks. Whereas the extra octane added with the 85 would give us a little bit of a boost. So very interesting, very surprising. I did not expect this. I thought the 85 would make a little bit more power everywhere across the board. I didn't think they'd be crossing off and changing lines. So definitely a very interesting test. Okay, that's a wrap for this 441 LS3 dyno session. We are flowing this through an exhaust with mufflers, huge mufflers actually. We are planning to redo our exhaust with just a straight pipe, much bigger collector, no muffler system. Maybe we would see another little bit more power out of this engine, but I'm really happy with the results. It's made 16 pulls now, and every pull has been slightly better than the last, so the motor is super healthy. It's performing very well, has almost absolutely zero air coming out of the valve covers, and checks all of our boxes. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you next time.